All right, so where do we leave off? We left off. Andrew Jackson is an orphan after the American Revolution, blaming the British. He married a woman that was already married. He fought a duel and shot a man, as you see pictured right here. Can it get any worse? Possibly. Next, he gets in a brouhaha with two brothers, Thomas Hart Benton and a brother Jesse. Jesse had just gotten a duel with one of Jackson's boys, and they were having some words afterwards outside a hotel. They ended up starting shooting at each other, and Jesse actually shot Andrew Jackson twice, once in the left arm and once in the left shoulder. The story gets interesting because Thomas Hart Benton later on becomes senator of Missouri when Andrew Jackson's president of the United States, and they actually become pretty cool friends. And the one bullet that was stuck in Jackson's left arm actually was coming up to the skin, and doctors were able to remove it from Jackson's arm. So what did he do with the bullet? He put it in an envelope and he sent it to Thomas Hart Benton with a note saying, "I think this belongs to you." How tough can a man be that sends a bullet to the guy who shot him? Pretty tough. The Creek Indians. Andrew Jackson was a famous Indian fighter. He just loved going and attacking them, especially since he lived in Tennessee, which was on the western territory where he kind of dealt with a lot of Indians. So at um, this battle, I can't even call it a battle; it was a massacre. He cornered the Creek Indians in this horseshoe bend, so there's really nowhere for the Indians to go. And Andrew Jackson, as a general, and his Tennessee militia went in, they trapped him, they slaughtered this whole family. But when they were going on the battlefield, Andrew Jackson saw a little Indian orphan who was being held by, or excuse me, Indian child being held by his slain parents. And Andrew Jackson felt so bad for the orphan, he decided to adopt him and named him Andrew Jackson Jr. That so Andrew Jackson slaughters the guy's whole family. The reason why he's an orphan, and then adopts him because he feels bad for him. So I can't even explain that. Move on though. It keeps getting worse. Now Andrew Jackson at the Battle of New Orleans, fighting against the British in the War of 1812. This guy barely has a force ready to fight, but he gets slaves. He gets runaway. Um, he has runaway slaves. He gets freed blacks. He has pirates. He has anybody who he can gather to go fight this battle against the British. And this is the same military that had just defeated Napoleon at Waterloo in Europe when Napoleon was running crazy. And he's supposed to win this battle. Somehow he does, and he becomes a huge hero at the Battle of New Orleans. But the most remarkable part is not that he won the battle with this ragtag group that he had. The more impressive part is that one bullet that he got from the duel when he took the bullet was actually irritating his heart while he was riding the horse at this battle. This is 5 weeks after he got shot by Thomas Hart Benton's brother Jesse, and actually a piece of his shoulder fell off. And to show his love for his wife, he sent it back to his wife, which is, I don't know, a little sickening to me, but I guess I was romantic in the 19th century. And last but not least, he's suffering from diarrhea. And he's doing all of this while riding in a saddle, preparing to fight the greatest military at that time period. And he was able to win. And that's him standing aloft New Orleans with diarrhea. Obviously, his left shoulder is on the ground because that's where the bullet was rattling. And he was able to win. It's unbelievable. As a result, he becomes really famous throughout the country, and he gets the nickname Old Hickory because hickory is the strongest piece of wood, and this guy just his bullet wounds, and he's one of the toughest guys around, no doubt about it. So as a result, he becomes the hero of New Orleans, and he has national prominence, probably unparalleled since George Washington. But he's not done fighting yet. After the War of 1812, he fights the First Seminole War. The Seminoles are an Indian group in Florida. What they would do is, Florida was part of Spain still at that time. So they would run into Georgia, they would attack American troops, then they would run back into Florida because they knew that the American forces couldn't go across the border because that would almost start a war. But we're talking about Andrew Jackson here. He doesn't care. He hates Indians, and he's just going to go do whatever he has to do. So he actually crosses into Spanish Florida. He finds the Seminoles and he beats the heck out of them. Not only that, there's actually two British diplomats that are in the area that are kind of helping out the Seminoles. And Andrew Jackson has so much disdain for the British, he actually decides to hang them. This almost leads to a war again after the War of 1812 between the United States and Great Britain because, again, Andrew Jackson hates the British. He blames the British for his mother and his two brothers. All right, the last thing we'll talk about is the election of 1824. We have a lot of popular candidates in this election. We have John Quincy Adams, who is the son of John Adams. We have Andrew Jackson. We have a guy named William Crawford, who's from the South. And we have Henry Clay, the Great Compromiser. And as you can see, there are a lot of popular guys, and the votes are all split up, talking about the different regions. The problem is, nobody has enough electoral votes. Okay. As you can see, Jackson has 99, all right, but he didn't have the required amount to win the election. And he won the popular vote. But again, if you don't get the electoral votes, it doesn't mean anything. So where does the election go? It goes to the House of Representatives, where the top three candidates, John Quincy Adams, Jackson, and Crawford, are going to be decided by the House of Representatives. And Clay, he doesn't get to be part of this because he is not in the top three, but Henry Clay is in the House of Representatives at that time, so he has a lot of sway. So everybody thinks Jackson's going to win. He won the popular vote. He had more electoral votes. He should be a cinch to win. What happens is um, we don't know what exactly happened, but we're pretty sure that Henry Clay made a deal with John Quincy Adams that if Henry Clay got John Quincy Adams to win in 1824 to become the president, um, John Quincy Adams would make Henry Clay the Secretary of State, and that's exactly what happened. John Quincy Adams wins, he gets enough votes in the House of Representatives, and Henry Clay becomes the Secretary of State. Why does he want the Secretary of State? Because if you look at every president before that, if you were a Secretary of State, you usually became president. That was true for Thomas Jefferson, Secretary of State, James Madison, Secretary of State, James Monroe, Secretary of State, and now John Quincy Adams. So Henry Clay is like, if I'm Secretary of State, guess what? I'll be president next. Maybe in 1828, maybe in 1832. How do you think Andrew Jackson takes this corrupt bargain? Oh, he is incensed. So much so, he leaves the Republican Party because of John Quincy Adams. He's going to get his revenge on him and actually starts a new political party. It's going to be known as the Democratic Party. And this is totally Jackson esque. Um, the reason why we have the symbol of the donkey for the Democratic Party is because somebody called Andrew Jackson a jackbutt. You know, I won't use the incorrect language. And Andrew Jackson was like, huh, that's a great nickname. I like that. So as a result, he adopted the donkey or the jackbutt as his symbol for the Democratic Party, which still stands today. Totally Jackson. All right, that's it for today, and I'll talk more about this tomorrow. Have a great day.